Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something. Izzo.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Thursday morning. Welcome everybody to Hot Mic back in Las Vegas, Nevada for day 2 of Mountain West Media Days. We are here bright and early, 7 a.m. local time. I think we're the first ones here. It's like the old Chevy Chase and National Lampoon's Vacation. First one's here. We got the best parking spot, and we're ready to rock and roll here. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Hot Mic here on another warm day in Las Vegas. No, it's hot and smoky back home. Everybody be safe with that. No, it's going to be a long day dealing with the wildfires that are going on both in Canada and in northern Minnesota. Great to be with everyone after a long day yesterday. The players took center stage yesterday. Today, it's all about the coaches. They're going to be featured here. All 10 will be going through what they call the car wash here over the next 5 to 6 hours. That'll include North Dakota State head football coach Tim Polasek. He's going to join us coming up in our show here this morning, part of a busy day on his schedule. And a lot to recap from yesterday. After we signed off the air, we still were visiting with a bunch of players. I know Sam and Kyle got almost every player that was available to us yesterday. So I'm looking forward to having those interviews interspersed on our program and of all of our shows we have coming up here over the next little bit. We have a couple preview shows late in August to get ready for the upcoming season. We'll use them on Bison Game Day. And it was just really a neat introduction to the league yesterday, not only for the players, but for the people that cover it. And we were privileged to get a chance to meet a variety of people from around the league, and you're going to have a chance to hear from some of them over the next few weeks and months as we get ready for the start of the season. What I was really interested in to see where our coverage was coming from here today. Right to my immediate right is a radio station out of Hawaii. I believe they have a couple of affiliates here this week. So that's already tells you the commitment that they have out of Hawaii. We saw obviously a few here from Las Vegas. I believe we saw El Paso. I think we were going through it last night, boys, right? El Paso was certainly here. I don't know if we saw anybody from San Jose. Did we see any San Jose or Northern Illinois? I don't believe we did on that front, which I don't think that was outlandish there. As we mentioned, certainly Vegas was well represented. All of their TV stations were here, and rightfully so. Their team is loaded. Many consider as the favorite to win this conference in 2026. So an eclectic mix. Wyoming certainly had some media people here as well. I'm trying to think. Nevada, I believe, had a couple that were here. That's the breadth of the league they got a chance to see here in person yesterday, and they'll all be back here today. And today, obviously, is I wouldn't say more laid back. It's certainly not as crazy as yesterday. We have some video to show from yesterday, and I think this is a good representation of what went down, obviously, from the commissioner addressing the assembled media that were here for her press conference, which we were able to play some of, and you're going to hear more from the commissioner coming up on our show here today. Also, I thought Kyle and Sam got some great video from UNLV's media session. You'll see here in a second the amount of people that were there for that, because obviously they're the talk of the town. After a 10-win season, made it to the Mountain West Championship game a season ago, and expectations, I mentioned earlier, are sky high that the Runnin' Rebels are going to do something again here big in 2026, led by their outstanding running back in Jet Thomas, who's we got a chance to visit with yesterday. One of the rarities in college football was a freshman here, stayed all 4 years, and now hoping for big-time payoff here for this upcoming season. So that was some good stuff to see. Hopefully we got a chance to play that, of the chance of seeing all the different media entities and people that were here yesterday. Now, the lineup here today, and again, there's a all the major television networks are here that broadcast the game. CBS, Fox, CW. We'll all have a chance to visit with the 10 head coaches. I'm particularly interested in hearing from a few here today. Obviously, Polasek goes without saying, and it's great we're going to have him on the show today. But the two coaches that have direct ties to North Dakota State and the Missouri Valley Conference in Fargo. One is Jason Eck, obviously the head coach at the University of New Mexico, who is the former South Dakota State offensive coordinator, part of some great Jackrabbit teams and coaching staffs. His offensive coordinator is Luke Schleisner, who's a former Jackrabbit himself. There's some obviously direct ties. We had a chance to visit with Jackson Eck yesterday to talk about that. I think we're going to play that interview tomorrow on the show because that was really, really fun to recount some of his youth days in Brookings and coming up to Fargo in the Dome. The second is Jeff Choate, who is the head coach at the University of Nevada. And obviously he's the former Montana State head coach who took an assistant job, I believe, at Texas before he got the job at Nevada and brought his teams to Fargo back-to-back years, 2018, 2019. Got drummed in the first round of the playoffs in 2018, got drummed in the 2019 semifinals, and has really had some struggles with Nevada. And I don't know if he ever thought he'd be going back to that building, but obviously the Wolfpack are coming to Fargo for a game in the middle of October. So I'm excited to visit with him. And there's a couple other ties as well. Wyoming's head coach, Jay Salvell, is the former defensive coordinator at Wyoming when Tim Polasek was the offensive coordinator under Craig Bohl. So we'll have a chance to visit with him and recount his tales. And then there's a few other coaches we have not met before that I'm really excited to talk with today. Ken Niumatalolo is the head coach, at San Jose State. He's the former head coach at Navy, and what that experience is like. He was a longtime head coach at Navy where they had some unbelievable success. The midshipmen never lost to Army, basically, when he was head coach. He's entering, I believe, his second year now at San Jose State, so a chance to visit with him. Timmy Chang, I'm really excited to visit with, the head coach at Hawaii. A lot of excitement with the Rainbow Warriors after what they did last year. Mike Alejado is the Offensive Player of the Year. A lot of expectations surrounding them this year, and what he knows about NDSU. I think we played, I believe our Lisa Badeau had a chance to visit with him when she was out on the island in March, and we played that on the show to get a sense of what he knows about North Dakota State and the Bison coming to Hawaii. Really excited about that interview. Hopefully we'll have a chance to get that on either tomorrow or sometime next week. And again, that's the nice part about it. We're not in a real rush to get everything on. Hopefully we're going to spread this out and give everybody a little bit of taste of what we've had a chance to do here over the last couple days. Rob Harley is the interim coach at Northern Illinois. Hopefully we'll get a chance to unpack what it's got to be a last crazy few months for him after Thomas Hammock left for the Seattle Seahawks, who was the head coach, and Harley gets promoted to be the interim coach. That's got to be a tough road to hoe right now. And the last couple stand out to me. UNLV, obviously, with Dan Mullen, and we've put in a request to visit with Coach Mullen here later this morning after a dynamite year. 10-4 a season ago, made it to the Mountain West title game. Expectations couldn't be higher, as I mentioned earlier. And lastly is UTEP head coach Scotty Walden, who's a former FCS guy. He was the head coach at Austin Peay, had some great success there, then took over at El Paso last year, not a great year, and then leaving Conference USA and bound for this league. So obviously some expectations there. He's got E.J. Colson. He's a fellow FCS transfer himself as a quarterback. We had a chance to visit with E.J. yesterday. Some really interesting things going on there. So that's the list of the coaches. It's a wide swath of guys that have a variety amount of experience, some that know this league, others that are going to find out about it, and we're excited to bring that to you here over the next couple hours on our program, of course, coming up over the next few days as well. A few other highlights that came out of yesterday in visiting when Gloria Nevarez, and we'll have my conversation with Gloria coming up later on in the show, but we didn't get a chance to hear yesterday during the address because we had to move on with our show, and I appreciate the emails we got on it yesterday. Wish we could have stayed with it, but we had some other obligations we had to get to. Was the addressing of the bowl status of where the Mountain West stands at it. And the Mountain West announced yesterday they have 3 bowl tie-ins. They have another one with the Hawaii Bowl exclusive there, the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl, they have exclusive tie-in there, and they are the backup bowl for the former Rate Bowl, which is now the Cactus Bowl. That is if neither a Big 12 or Big 10 team can fill that event, then a Mountain West team would be there. They also will have an ESPN Events Bowl selected for them for the number one team if they don't go to the CFP. Now, that's, again, a variety of bowl games that the league could potentially go to, whether it's in Frisco again. There's a few others, Armed Forces Bowl, which is in Fort Worth, Texas. So there's a mix there, and it is very confusing, I think, for people that haven't gone through this before. Heck, for us, we're still trying to get our feet underneath us and figure out exactly how that works. But that was the big news that came out yesterday. She also talked about the stability of the league. They're at 10 members right now with the additions, obviously, of UTEP, Northern Illinois, and North Dakota State. Is there a desire to get to 12? I certainly think that's out there. She mentioned that number again. So that's something to just bear watching. They're not on the market, and she'll address that coming up later on in our program this morning. But that's something that's certainly to watch, because obviously I know there's a lot of friends in our neck of the woods that are hoping for a potential move up to the FBS subdivision and make that happen. Right now there's no openings, but that doesn't mean that's a permanent deal. So much more with the commissioner coming up later on in our program this morning. We have a packed guest lineup here on this Thursday morning. Got to get my bearings with us here of what day it is. It's just been a hectic week. Our guest lineup, of course, is brought to us by Northwestern Mutual. Mike McFeely will join us in just a few minutes. Mike was in the meeting yesterday, the press conference with Gloria Nevarez. Let's get his thoughts on that and just overall from day one here at Mountain West Media Days and what we're expecting to hear from the ball coaches coming up here on day two. I mentioned the commissioner will join us, Gloria Nevarez, at about 9:35 this morning to give us the state of the league, where everything's at with North Dakota State now in it, and expectations for not only them, but the entire league horizon on 2026. Excited for that conversation, for you to hear that coming up at 9:35. The head ball coach will join us at 10 o'clock to start our second hour. Tim Polasek from North Dakota State on State of the Bison, getting ready. Fall camp begins in just under 2 weeks, where things are at. We'll talk about some position stuff as well. We're going to get some hardcore football talk in with Tim coming up at 10 o'clock. Excited for our last two guests, and hopefully this works. Again, it's a moving entity here. It's live television, but we're hopefully going to get Dan Mullen, the head coach of UNLV, to join us at about 10:30, and 10:45, Scotty Walden, the head coach of the University of Texas El Paso, the Miners, to join us at 10:45 to wrap up our show. So hopefully we can make all that work in the second part of our show this morning. So a lot to get to here on a busy Thursday morning. We're glad you're joining us. We're going to take our first commercial break. We come back. Our guy McFeely will join us to unpack what he saw and heard yesterday as we're just getting started on day two of Mountain West Media Days live in Las Vegas. We're back on WDAY Extra right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Off and rolling here on day two of Mountain West Media Days here live in Las Vegas at the Palms Casino, which is the new sponsor of the league and putting us up here, and the entire media contingent that have assembled here in Las Vegas over the last couple days. Now the players are all heading back. In fact, the North Dakota State players left, I believe, on the red eye late last night to get back to Fargo, I believe sometime later this morning. It was going to be a long night for the guys, but they were not looking forward to getting back to having to do patterns and getting ready for the rest of summer workouts with fall camp right around the corner. Yesterday we went through it a little bit, and in case you missed it, the preseason all-conference team. Come on in here, buddy boy. You're the big a deal. You can slide in. You do the Collinsworth slide for us. Yesterday, the preseason all-conference team came out. Mike Alhada was the preseason offensive player of the year from Hawaii. Jackson Eck was the defensive player of the year from New Mexico. And then Jackson Williams, of course, was the special teams player of the year out of North Dakota State, which he was one of 4 Bison that were selected, joining Darius Givens in that, Keenan Wilson, and Griffin Empey. You're going to hear from all of those guys we had a chance to visit with. Of course, we had Darius Givens and Nathan Hayes on the show yesterday to chat about that. So good stuff. All right, here he is in the flesh, our guy Mike McFeely, columnist from the Forum of Fargo-Moorhead. Good morning. How's it going?
It's going well.
You took in the Rat Pack last night.
I did.
Well, how was it?
Well, it wasn't the real Rat Pack because they're all dead.
Well, yeah,
but it was the fake Rat Pack.
Was it fantastic?
It was fantastic. I got a taste of Las Vegas last night.
Old school Las Vegas,
Well,
right?
yeah, yes. I would have fit much better into the 1960s in Las Vegas. It was all mobbed up, and this is like an amusement park now, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. You were back in your flow there last night.
I was 100% back in my flow.
Fantastic.
Couple things. First of all, I'm going to apologize beforehand because my allergies have absolutely gone ballistic this morning. So just if I have to exit here quickly and go die somewhere, just go on without me. And second of all, there's no better way to start the day in Las Vegas than with Old Trapper
what kind
beef
do you have
jerky
there?
here,
the
at,
peppered
here
version.
at Old Trapper Mountain West Media Days.
You like that, huh?
I love this stuff.
Yeah.
It's great.
I did the hot and spicy yesterday. That's pretty good too.
Yeah,
I don't know
that's
if
pretty, this is just the peppered.
Guy, so.
But again, did you see the Old Trapper mascot walking?
I did see him walking around.
I was going to get a selfie with him, and I thought that was maybe a little over the top. But I'm very
he might
excited.
be back today. You could try for it today.
As I said the other day, I advocated for North Dakota State to move to FBS and get to the Mountain West for about 6 years.
Yep.
I didn't know one of the benefits was going to be that the media days were sponsored by Old Trapper Beef Jerky. So,
well,
just wanted to get that out there.
I dug up. I was looking for something I posted on social media. I found an old tweet that I posted on the ratings from the bowl games way back in 2021, and you subtweeted about that. Like, the point is here, look at the amount of people that are watching. That's why this is December of 2021, and you said this is why North Dakota State has to get to the Mountain West Conference, and here we are. And that leads me to my first question for you, because you were in the room yesterday when Gloria Nevarez had her State of the Union on the bowl tie-ins, because the Mountain West has, we know, 3 and up to 4, maybe more than that are definite as of now, and that's a whole new world for us to try to figure out how that's going to work when we get to November and December.
For sure. And it was the Cactus Bowl.
Yep.
The
Arizona, the
Snoop Dogg
Bowl. Yep.
Arizona Bowl.
Yep.
I thought I had the best question yesterday when we were talking with Gloria one-on-one.
Yeah.
I asked if Snoop was going to be here, and then because she said there was a bowl representative.
Yes,
right?
correct.
I said, was it Snoop? And she's like, no, it's not. It's,
because that would be A1 on the forum today. I can tell you that right now.
It's Abe Froman or something who's representing the Arizona Bowl.
And then the Hawaii Bowl.
Hawaii Bowl's the autumn. That was the one that New Mexico last year, which was the bowl, but it's not. No. I got it mixed up. The Cactus Bowl is
the former Rate Bowl.
Yes, right.
Correct.
Yep.
And that's the backup if the Big 10 or Big 12 can't go to or opt not to.
Yes,
play
and there's been a number
camp.
of teams, of course,
Correct.
that have opted from the big conferences who have opted
K-State
to
and Iowa
not.
State infamously
Notre
last
Dame.
year. And then the top league team won't go to the CFP, will go to an ESPN Bowl. And
Yes,
that could
that's
be
it, yes.
Frisco, that could be Fort Worth. There's a bunch of them that fall under that.
Yeah, I'd have to look
idea.
up the list, but ESPN owns a bunch of these bowls, and I don't think that there's it doesn't have to be a quote-unquote lower-tier bowl.
Nope.
It can be whatever the gurus at ESPN and the conference work out and decide.
As Gloria told me, there's definite horse trading that happens there. So that's fascinating to see how that's going to play out.
So one of the vibes I'm getting here is that there's excitement in the league, or at least appreciation for what North Dakota State has accomplished in its former life in the FCS. And there certainly is a vibe that they have a large following, right? And Gloria Nevarez yesterday brought that up again, talking about the Mountain West Plus and all the excitement, all the excitement, fan engagement, right? Well, here's the deal: the fans better show up. I mean, now NDSU is doing what it's right. The fans have to start showing up to fill the dome again, and they better go on the road to at least some of these games. And if NDSU as we've talked about with the buzz, I think that carries over into the ESPN and bowl world as well. Like they've seen the numbers that showed up in Frisco, surely early on for those national championship games, maybe a little bit less in the later years. But Bison fans who have been whining, and rightly so, that's the wrong word, who've been complaining about, I'm bored and I don't want to go to the games, and I've seen this all 100 times before, you better show up now.
Right.
I mean, this because it's going to matter.
Correct. Yeah.
In the bowl games and where they go, and if they go to a bowl this first year, and 500 people show up from North Dakota State to cheer them on, the next time around it's not going to be.
Nope.
It's not going to be as easy for NDSU to say, hey, look at our fan base.
Right.
And so,
You might be going to
it's on the
Boise
fans,
or something of that nature.
Which would be great.
Which is, not the end of the world, but again, that's not the top tier we're talking about of the potential bowl games. I want to get to a couple other things that you wrote about yesterday from Gloria's address. Let's first start on, I guess, the state of the league, and I know you hit on expansion. What did you take away from what she had to say?
Well, I think that's two separate things the way I look at it. And I wrote yesterday, and it's at Inform right now, that her address yesterday, I thought was much of we're in great shape. And she mentioned a couple of times, and what else is she going to say?
Yeah,
I mean, she's not going to go up there and go, oh, God. From where they were when those 5 schools left to go to the Pac-12, I think those were desperate times for the Mountain West. And I think there was some question about whether the league would even survive. But I think now that they feel solid with 10 teams, there's been this ongoing narrative or ongoing rhetoric out there from some of the guys who cover the Pac-12. And a couple of them, I've been on John Canzano's program multiple times. He's helped me out with some stuff. I've communicated with John Wilner at the San Jose Mercury News. But those guys are absolutely convinced that UNLV has like 1 foot out the door going to the Pac-12. And Gloria yesterday made sure twice in her address, afterward when you and I and Jeff Kolpak were working with her, to say that the grant of rights, the league board or the league board of directors, which is the presidents, got together and unanimously said the grant of rights is rock solid. There's no out there. There's no, the league has met its obligations for the grant of rights. And what she was saying in so many words, and if you read the quote that I got from her afterward, what she was saying is, it just this rhetoric out there, this stuff, it's not right.
Yeah.
It's incorrect.
It's not accurate.
There's not holes in it. No. In the grant of the grant of rights. This is again getting deep in the weeds. It ties teams to a conference through the television rights, the national television
money
rights, right?
Yes.
And so North Dakota State, for example, in its agreement with the Mountain West, signed it. In there was they granted their rights for television broadcasting nationally to the Mountain West Conference. And so the conference now controls where they can be on TV.
Correct.
The point is, if UNLV, and UNLV can go, they can leave, but they're going to have to pay a massive entry fee of $25 million plus, maybe $30 million to leave the league. That's first. And secondly, their games could not be on, their home games could not be on national TV until the end of the Mountain West contract.
So that's 6 years.
With the CW, CBS Sports, and Fox Sports. And that's really like technical, nerdy stuff. But the point that she's trying to get across, I think, reading between the lines and chatting with her, she can't say it, but in so many words, what she's saying is, UNLV ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, they're locked in.
They're locked in. They're not going.
Now,
so knock it off, guys. Knock it off, national people.
On the other side of it, expansion-wise.
Yes.
Where did you take from that? Because the number 12 was brought up.
It was brought up again, and it's the second or third time publicly she said 12 is a good number, or people are always talking about 12, and so they're at 10 right now. And she said, well, 12 is always a number people talk about, but we're not actively seeking anybody right now. But certainly we always have our eyes and our ears open, and if schools are in that position like North Dakota State was, where they were checking benchmarks off the list for 5 or 6 years, then we'll maybe take a look. And if they fit our league, if they fit our profile, if they can be competitive, blah blah blah, then we'll maybe have a conversation. And so that she's certainly, or the league is certainly open to taking in two more members, but not desperate. It's going to be the proper schools, so to speak, proper programs to come into the league.
Who those two might be?
Well, the other part of talking about UNLV not leaving the league is that all of the television rights nationally are sewed up now, like through 2031 and 2032 through most FBS conferences.
Yes.
So what she's saying by telling us that is that there's no more TV money
out there
for at least 5 or 6 years. So if UNLV goes foregoing the money that the Mountain West has promised them.
Right.
Them and Air Force, they promised more revenue distribution to those two schools to keep them in the Mountain West. They would get nothing in TV money from the Pac-12. Unless the Pac-12 totally just said we're going to divvy up the pie even more.
Right, why would they do that?
And they're not in a position to do that because they won't release what their TV numbers are because they're not what they said they were going to be.
Not very good to begin with.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And so the point is, I don't know if there's FBS school going to be moving.
Right.
That would leave another option.
Yep.
Which she wouldn't bite on when I connected the dots for her. She's very clever, this Gloria Nevarez.
She is, yep.
She's actually smarter than I am, which is but that leaves the other option is FCS.
Yes.
Right?
Right. And who would that be in the FCS
the two schools
right.
that I obviously look at
the Montanas, to me.
are the schools that fit, that are in the footprint, that fit the profile, that I believe have been, I don't know this. I haven't talked to anybody, Leon Costello or the gentleman at Montana, but I think that they've been, kind of working toward, like, okay, to at least have the option if that day ever comes. So those two, I think would be, to me, they'd be the obvious choice.
Yes.
If you're going to go that route.
Two last things here. So today, obviously, the 10 head coaches are going to be here. Who are you most looking forward to chatting with to peel the onion back a little bit?
Well, I got to have another prop here. I didn't. I got to read the exact tweet from all those years ago.
Oh, I know where you're going with this. Yes.
Must not have had enough motivation. Jason Eck, the New Mexico coach, who's a good guy,
great guy,
and a great talker and a great person for us to deal with.
Yes.
But when he was South Dakota State, he liked to poke the bear in Fargo.
No doubt.
Especially the fans. And like to throw the chum in the water. That was from
the
after
James
the
Madison game. Yes. 2016 with
after
the
NDSU lost in 2016, when NDSU beat the Jackrabbits when Coach Eck was there.
The week prior. Yep.
Yes. Chris Kleiman said there was a lot of motivation, because the regular season game then, the Jacks won that game in Fargo,
Finally,
so NDSU was ready to go. A lot of motivation, just a lot of motivation.
I'm really excited to talk with Dan, UNLV head coach. Obviously, a lot of expectations there. He spent some time in TV, what he took out of that. And, we saw it yesterday, Mike, and you were part of a couple of the scrums. That was, and we're here, so it's their base camp, but there is plenty of attention on Nevada, Las Vegas.
I just saw Coach Jeff Choate from Nevada just walked by, and he's another old friend of North Dakota State from when he was at Montana State. Looking forward to it. And the reason that with Eck, I'm certainly going to ask him whether his Twitter game is still as solid as it was, with a smile on my face, just hey, haha, this could be fun, But he also knows North Dakota State, right? I mean, he was in Brookings for all those years. Ask him and Jeff Choate, like, what do you think? And I know they're going to say, oh gosh, it's they're going to be great, but they have some insight into what. I get the feeling, like we've talked about before, that these other teams, other schools, other media in the Mountain West know of North Dakota State, but I still think there's that idea that is FCS.
Right,
so
correct.
They won all these championships in JV football, and so I don't know if they're going to fit in that well to the Mountain West. But I think that they would have a perspective and say, I'm pretty sure Jason Eck can say, well, some of those teams that we played back when I was in Brookings could compete just fine.
No doubt about
in
that.
The Mountain
Absolutely.
West,
Great to see you, man, and we'll talk later, okay?
Ain't that a kick in the head, Dom? Being in the Mountain West.
The Rat Pack himself.
That's a Rat Pack reference.
I got
right
it.
There. Okay, I didn't know. I don't know what your how good your Rat Pack game is.
Age. I'm not.
Who's your favorite? Sammy, Dean, or Frank?
Sinatra would be my guy.
Okay,
I think so.
Chairman of the board.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Actually, my favorite part of it would be Rickles. He's my all-time favorite. I love Don Rickles. But anyway,
was Peter Lawford like Ringo Starr? Like he was just kind of the.
Exactly. All right, we'll break. We come back. Commissioner will join us. Gloria Nevarez, a commissioner of the Mountain West Conference. State of the League. That's coming up. Returns on this Thursday morning. We're back live right after this.
This is Hot Mic with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
These are just
distinct pleasure to have the commissioner of the Mountain West Conference, Gloria Nevarez, with us on Hot Mic, making a reappearance after we got her right after the announcement that NDSU was into the league. And now it feels like this is the coming out party for the Bison and FBS to be here and got in their full Division I FBS acceptance. Just describe now of you've seen this whole journey and now it's here. What is this like for you as commissioner?
That seems like a long time ago, doesn't it?
It does.
But it's really exciting here. We were talking before we went on air here about this year we have 4 student athletes from each school, and it's been so great. It's really pumped up the energy. I think the Bison are having a blast. The great news we got over the last month that North Dakota State will be eligible immediately for our championship bowls and CFP selection really was an important piece of it, so we couldn't be more thrilled.
You made a point of making that in your opening remarks about that. I want to ask, how much did the league have a hand in helping with the Division I committee and the cabinet to say this is a good thing and we would want this to happen?
Yeah, we did our fair share of advocacy and outreach and trying to educate folks on, why North Dakota State is ready, and schools generally these days when they raise their hand and say, hey, we want to move to FBS, I think the days past, you wanted their scholarship levels to be at a certain spot, you wanted to make sure their monitoring, enforcement, compliance was in the right space, but the schools today are right there.
Was there any pushback from what you know for this not to go through?
I wasn't in the room, but the vote went through,
yeah.
So that's a win.
It seemed the social media reaction, the league was overjoyed. What was your reaction personally
100%.
on this? Yeah.
I really do think it was the right thing for the football ecosystem generally, but of course, we definitely had some skin in the game for this one, and it really meant a lot because if you're not playing for something, you're not playing for anything.
The fact that all this has happened, Gloria, in 5 months, is it surprised you? You've been in college athletics a long time. This seems like it's on supersonic speed that everything has gone through
Everything is moving at supersonic speed. In fact, yesterday I was on a call with the Division I commissioners, Senators Cruz, Cantwell, talking about the Protecting College Sports Act, and so things are still moving at supersonic speed.
To now have this piece, I know you were asked about expansion. I'll ask you about that in a second. But just to have the 10 now locked in, that all of them are eligible for a bowl, all can go for postseason. What's that mean for the new look to introduce the league this way?
It's so exciting to be a little bit back to business as usual, using our time and energy on elevating and talking about the student athletes, the football season. We announced our bowl lineup.
Yeah.
We announced the launch of our new Mountain West Plus. This will be the first year in our new media package configuration, introducing CW into the mix. So very, very excited.
I want to ask you about that. I bugged John about this a couple times on the television. I always think the draft should be televised. I'm a nerd like that because I'd like to see that. But with the CW in play and the now more available windows for the league out there, describe that, and it looks like some pretty attractive windows that you've got for not only North Dakota State, but obviously other teams in your league.
Very much so. One, having 2 legacy partners come back in CBS and Fox. We've been with CBS over 20 plus years. They're incredible. And, the brand names, CBS and Fox, and what they mean to the college football space, that's big, having that kind of platform. Introducing CW into the mix and having great linear exposure and access on that channel. Again, just supplementing our linear package. And then, Mountain West Plus, having that be a wholly owned property by the conference is really a new and exciting adventure.
We're excited about that because our 2 broadcasts are going to be featured on Mountain West Plus.
Excellent.
So on that, can you describe for our viewers out there that this money, if you sign up for it, that doesn't go to the league, that goes to the particular school?
Correct. For every subscription driven by the Bison, when you sign up and pull down that drop-down menu and select your school, 60% of every dollar goes back to the institution that drove that subscription. And the school is able to sell ad inventory on all their broadcasts. That goes back to the school. And any other creative way they want to put content, creative content, original content on the platform, that portal will be owned by the school. So Bison fan will go in and see green and gold, and it'll be a unique environment specific to North Dakota State fans.
That's how unique is that for anybody else? Is anybody else doing that in Division
No,
I that you know of?
We're the only FBS
How about
league
to
doing
be
that.
out in front of that? How proud are you of that fact?
Very, and honestly, it couldn't have been possible but for partnering with Kiswi, which is one of the preeminent live sports streaming companies that are helping us build this backbone.
Now, I wasn't in the room when you announced the bowl stuff, and I'm imminently curious on this because this is brand new territory. So
Yes.
can you tell us first who the league is partnering up with and how different that is for this season, if at all?
Well, 2026 is considered a continuation or rollover year of our agreements that expired last year. So our bowl configuration will be 4 spots with the ESPN events family. We have 1 guaranteed spot in the Hawaii Bowl. We have a backup spot in the Cactus Bowl, which we've played in 2 of the last 3 years. And then we also have a spot with the Arizona Bowl, Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl, which has always been a great time. Every team that's gone to that one loves it. And then our number 1 selected team will go into the ESPN Events Family Bowl, but we'll work with ESPN every year to help ensure that we have a compelling matchup and geographic location.
So if the league champ, and I'm speaking off the top of my head, does not get selected for the college football playoff, they would go to that particular bowl you're just talking about?
Correct. ESPN would have the first
And
pick.
that is a variety of
Yes.
bowls, or is there a couple specific ones that they could go to?
It could be any in the ESPN family, and the opponent isn't already locked up either, so there's room to be creative.
So, I mean, is it almost like horse trading when you get into it? Like
Every year there's horse
Really?
trading,
Yeah.
even though there's not supposed to be horse trading. There's attempted horse trading, there's actual horse trading. But really for us, the point is we didn't take a step back in our financial guarantees in our bowl lineup, which is really important, and a testament to the power and quality and value of Mount West football. But also we have enough opportunities so that our bowl eligible teams will have a spot to play.
How different is this going to look next year? And then you're telling me what's the college football playoff field going to be like, right?
27 is a little bit up in the air because, if the CFP expands, that's going to have a ripple effect. So we're kind of waiting to see what happens there. But I'm very optimistic. I mean, our fan base is travel. We generate great eyeballs. So we're still very desirable postseason.
I know you mentioned in your address that you'd like to maybe get back to that number of 12. You're at 10 teams right now. I know we just got 10. What do you worry about adding? But obviously, expansion's always on a commissioner's mind. What would you look for in adding 2 more teams to try to get to that number?
Yeah, and we're not actively on the market right now, but we're always mind open, scouring the horizon. Again, it starts with fit for us. We talked briefly about membership standards across the board to ensure that we're always moving all schools across the spectrum. So my vision is to fully develop membership standards. And so if we are approached by a school or interested in a school, we say, hey, this is the starting point. Can you warrant that you'll get to this or show us that you already are? And then it's easier to bring forward schools for consideration.
Because there's a lot of viewers in our part of the world, the Dakotas, would say, well, hey, you want to look at the other Dakota schools or the Montana schools that are preeminent FCS programs, maybe not to the level what North Dakota State was. How do you respond to something like that where say, hey, because NDSU wasn't actively campaigning, even maybe behind the scenes they were. How do you as a commissioner field that out there in the ether, I guess?
Well, we're always trying to keep our options open. So if there's conversations to be had, I'm willing to have them. Always, willing to take the phone call. And our schools change so often. There's such a rotation with president, ADs, coach, so that the temperature on each campus changes about what they're looking to do, what their aspirations are. So we're always looking to have those conversations.
The fact that NDSU did all the legwork, Gloria, beforehand, how much is that easier to say, okay, I can go to my presidents and say this is a school that we should look at?
Yes, and it made it easier, I think, in the room for the NCAA council or cabinet to waive the exception and change the rule, which does change the path for future FCS schools. But the fact that North Dakota State could say today, we meet all the requirements. We don't need 2 years.
So have you mapped out your travel plans yet? Are you making a trip to Fargo for the fall yet?
Not yet, but I have an eyeball, I think, on the Coach Bowl.
Ah, yes. Describe your relationship with the Fort
That's
Bison
me trying
coach.
to make the bowl
happen.
thing.
We can think. But I mean, Craig obviously was a legend both in Fargo and in Laramie. What was his involvement, I guess, in getting NDSU into the league?
When I first took the job in 2023, I asked the guys in our office, who's the coach that I need to talk to first? Who's the coach that has the most say in the room? And they said, Coach Bull at Wyoming. He was my first visit. I sat down to meet with him, and he's been, honestly, a great confidant, I'd say a mentor, and now that he's moved on to oversee the Football Coach Association, a great friend and colleague.
Well, he's a pretty big deal back in Fargo. I know that, in North Dakota for what he did, obviously, for his time at NDSU. To have this come to fruition as well, before I let you go, just is this even beyond what you thought Media Days could be when you outlined it, moving to Vegas, moving the conference offices here? Is this what you thought?
Our team, Javen and our team, as much as I'd like to take credit for this, worked really, really hard. But what's even more incredible, we have 2 less schools, but we have more media here this year than we had last year. I mean, that's just a testament to what is going on, the grit, the quality of football, the interest. You could feel the excitement and the momentum.
I tried to stay away from any questions about Congress because it just makes my head hurt on that, and I'm sure it does as you as well. But thanks so much for doing this. Thanks for the invite of having us out here. We look forward to seeing you in Fargo then, maybe in October. All right?
I will be there.
Gloria Nevarez, the commissioner of the Mountain West Conference, joining us this morning on Hot Mic.
Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mic rolling on here in our first hour. The coaches have all arrived, just did it's like their senior picture with the commissioner, Gloria Nevarez. We appreciate coming on the show and hope everybody took away some nuggets out of that, like I did with our conversation that we had with the commissioner earlier. And I think it's really interesting to unpack a few things on this. One, on how excited they were that NDSU became postseason eligible. I think that's the main takeaway I had from our conversation yesterday, is that there was a lot of support coming from the league. And I can tell you, a couple sources have confirmed to me that there was pushback. I asked Gloria that question. Obviously, she said she wasn't in the room, but I can tell you that there was at least one power conference that did not support the FCS to FBS transition. And that was, remember, those votes are weighted as well, that the Power 4 leagues carry more than the group of 6 or a FCS conference, but it went through, but it was not unanimous support, I can tell you, that was in the room from the Division I cabinet on allowing that to go through. Be that as it may, it is a done deal, and obviously North Dakota State is eligible for not only a bowl, but can compete for the Mountain West Conference Championship and the College Football Playoff. And that, I know, is a taboo topic for some. Being out here in Vegas, you can continually see that the money lines and the betting lines for NDSU are very high. Some have it at 9.5 wins. And again, I reemphasize, if you want to bet the over on that, that means you think NDSU can win 10 football games this upcoming season. Again, not out of the question of possibility, but that is a high bar for this first year of FBS football. Second thing I took out of that was on the expansion talk, something that Mike and I discussed in earlier on in this first hour, on where the league sits with its membership right now. Obviously, they're at 10. The number 12 is brought up a few times. That's interesting, I guess, prospect for the league to potentially consider, and who that would be. The other Dakota schools certainly would like their opportunity. I think South Dakota State is sitting there saying, where's our chance? I'm not sure how much homework the Jackrabbits have done to get ready for that. Matt Larson would continually tell me, every time I'd ask him about FBS football, that we have everything lined up. We are ready to go. And they were, obviously. I don't know if that's the case in Brookings. I think there is some momentum in Bozeman, and I think there's some momentum in Missoula on trying to make sure that they are ready when and if a phone call were to come, that you can't say, hey, would you be ready? You got to say, when the call, you have to say, we are ready. It's a totally different, it's semantics, I know, for some, but it's completely different mindset. You can't just call them and say, hey, we'd like to consider going FBS. That's not how it works. So we'll see. So that was a couple of the major takeaways. I think obviously the league came out yesterday, is in full support of the Protect the College Save, the Save College Sports Act, which is currently in its way in the House right now, and it's very fluid in terms of what that is going to look like, because there is some language in that bill about membership and about realignment. That's something that to keep your eyes on. I know for some, talking anything with sports in Congress makes your eyes roll to the back of your heads, but that is clearly something that we're going to keep our eyes on going forward. And I think they're obviously very excited about their bowl partnerships, and she certainly was pushing the Mountain West Plus app. They have to. That's a major thing for the league. To me, I'm really intrigued about the new television partnerships that they have. That self-serving. Obviously, it takes away from us for our games at WDAY TV. But with the new agreement with the CW, which is over the air, that the Bison have 5 games on that channel for this upcoming year. That's the most they have of any other network. That they're certainly excited to be over the air and on free TV, which is unlike the games on CBS Sports Network, which they have a couple, and Fox Sports 1. Obviously, they have a game on ESPN. That's a non-conference game at Sacramento State in the middle of September. So that was just a few of the takeaways I had from our visit with the commissioner yesterday, and we appreciate her giving us some time. Now, to set up things here, we got coming up here in the second hour. Right behind us, you can see everybody is breaking out here. Some interviews are going to be getting started. Over my right shoulder is the local TV interviews for Nevada and New Mexico. So that's Jeff Choate. I'll be over here joined by Jason Eck. Radio Row is going to have UNLV head coach Dan Mullen, I believe, is right here to my left. UTEP head coach Scotty Walden, who I just met, who's going to join us coming up at the end of our second hour. And Ken Niinamolo, the head coach at San Jose State, will also join us coming up. That'll be a taped interview we'll do later. And then later today, North Dakota State will go through that. So Tim Polasek will be doing the old Radio Row deal along with Troy Calhoun from Air Force, Timmy Chang from Hawaii, along with Rob Harley and Jay Salville from the University of Wyoming. So that is the plan coming up later. We're going to take end of our first hour break. We come back. The head ball coach will join us, head coach Tim Polasek from North Dakota State, about the Bison officially Mountain West members, and talk some ball with fall camp just a couple weeks away. Hour 2 begins live from Las Vegas and Mountain West Media Days after this.
This is Hot Mic with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2, ready to rock and roll here on this Thursday morning. Flying along already as we're back live in Las Vegas, Palms Casino for day 2 of Mountain West Media Days. Our second hour gets rock and roll with the head football coach at North Dakota State, Mr. Tim Polasek, joins us. And I remember we were in Sioux Falls last year, and you said, hey, how'd it go? You know, what'd you think? Like, yeah, it was good. He's like, well, we could do something bigger. Well, I don't know if this is what you had in mind for bigger, but here we are to start 2026.
It is. I think, everybody, as you move through your careers and stuff, and you watch, for me, watching the Big Ten Network and watching that production of the media days, and then they get on campus and camp and they wrap it up with each team. I mean, most certainly is, you want exposure for your players and kids. You want your very best. It's too bad we couldn't bring 8 or 10 kids down here, but I remember last leaving there. Okay, we tried. We make it better. We tried to get connection with multiple media outlets across the board, and I don't know if it quite moved the needle. But then you walk into this place and you got to be on top of where you're at, where you're going, and so it's been all a great experience so far. Travel was easy. I really missed being away from the team last night, but our runs were phenomenal.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. And so it's been all positive so far.
So this is our first official 2026 interview to get going. So tell me about, from when the spring ball ended, you still were adding to the roster. Tell me, for the guys that you've added, the supplemental pieces and what you needed to find in the spring portal window to add to the roster.
Well, I think it was, again, like in a perfect world, we probably find out we're going FBS, before last year's season.
Right, in September, right?
Yeah, and you're able to, there's going to be a process to this thing. And I think part of the portal recruiting this spring is the first indication of that. And so we did our best job, the best job we could, identifying the right character, the right culture fits, the needs potentially, offensively and defensively. And so I was very pleased with the graduates that we were able to add. And then it just goes to show you, junior college, there's a chance in there, with Tucci at receiver. But I do think the receiver position is much improved from the spring. And part of that's health, but it's also, there were some opportunities there with a couple injuries. And where we were at with the 105 count, that we could add some people and we could do some unique things that our FBS related versus FCS.
I know Jeremiah Patterson is the wide receiver transfer from Arizona. We talked briefly about him, I think, at the end of spring because it wasn't official yet. But what have you heard reports throughout summer workouts?
Well,
for him?
Nathan seems to gravitate towards him, and quite frankly, at this point, that's all I care about. He's a Raja type looking guy. Really is. I mean, similar body build, strong. He can run. The one thing I've been really encouraged with the 6 to 8 workouts that I've been at over the summer, Jill and I, we always approach vacation like it's kind of a stay vacation. Oxbow and Fargo is about as far as I get. We did not do much on the lakes this year, but he's a good added addition as far as speed in the slot. I think he's got a little bit of range like Raj did. It doesn't have to be thrown right on him. But I've also been encouraged with Patterson, a young man that we brought in from basically Jacksonville State that went to West Virginia. And then Tucci's the other addition. And then it's been really cool to see our freshman class try to melt in there and into the fold, but you're not going to find out about those guys until about August 18th.
Nathan Hayes obviously is the guy, and you've had a chance to see him for the last 2 years. Cam Miller told me 3 years ago before you came back, he had the strongest arm in the team. What are the other attributes you've seen that maybe we haven't yet in a game that we're going to see this fall?
It's the most exciting questions to answer is about the quarterback, but at the same time, it's the one that, there's going to be 5 to 8 moments that kind of wrap up or define a quarterback's legacy, their story. For Cole, it's all the long runs, right? And then, the proficiency during the season, the pass. But then we get to the Illinois State game, and we got to answer those questions. So for Nate, how does he handle 3rd and 12 from our own 20 in the first game against Jacksonville State, a completion over a conversion?
You were telling me that like with Cam Miller. I remember we had the same exact conversation a couple years with Cam.
It's interesting. But the talent level, the ability, the size, the strength, the ability to advance the chains with his feet, the arm strength. There's plenty of football acumen, knowledge, and so now he's got to go out there and play, but he's got to be very aware of situational stuff because that's kind of what's going to end up defining him, and it's going to lead to us winning and losing, and we're going to be in a lot more tight games.
His arm strength, Tim, where does that rank of all the quarterbacks you work with?
Yeah, he's quick. It's right up there with Carson and Nate Stanley. Nate Stanley's a kid at Iowa
really good player at Iowa.
Could really pound it. I think he's quick. Maybe he's a touch quicker than Carson. His arm strength, when he trusts it and it's in rhythm, it's pretty good. And then he does have an ability to send it on the move. And so his ability to extend plays and keep us, his third down grit, which Cam answered all those questions. His third down grit, his ability to keep us on the field is going to kind of define him.
I'm 7 minutes in. I haven't asked about offensive line. Griffin Empey was here yesterday, and I asked him about taking snaps at center. I've seen him warm up and do that. I've seen him do it in practice. If I were to ask you now, here we are on July, 15th, 16th, would he be your starting center?
Well, I think now, where we sit today, I think there's two interesting battles going on that would push Empey to center. And it's really, how does right tackle shake out between Kenny Anene, Josh Mangan, and I got to be honest, I think Stummis has had just an outstanding summer. I mean, he just goes through the running like nothing.
He's a tall drink of water, too.
298, he's in that range now. And so we're really looking at that combination, Empey at center, Tastad, but you also have these players like Coy Okeson that aren't just hanging around. They're getting into the fight now, and they're pretty darn – their strength levels are really high. So does Gage – say, we don't need Griff at center. Let's play Mangan goes to guard, and you got Anene, and then you got Stummis. So I really like the fact that we're approaching 8 and 9 better than solidifying those 5. But I do want the 5 to be solidified a little quicker than we have in the past.
I asked you about that last year. Yeah.
I think it's important. I got a funny feeling that cohesion, us starting fast, is going to be important.
Ryan Babbitt's got reps as the season went along. How valuable can that be for him now taking over at left tackle?
Well, it's everything. I mean, imagine sitting here saying, okay, Ryan Babbage is going to be the starting left tackle, but he hasn't played yet.
First year in the Mountain West Conference.
Yeah, exactly. And I think with Ryan, every win is more imperative than his ability to learn from failure. Because I think as his confidence grows, Gray Zabel talks a lot about that. As his confidence grows, we do feel like we have a strong candidate for a good player there.
I got to ask for Jackson Williams, he was named preseason special teams player of the year. Are you still planning on using him as much on special teams this year?
I think
I'll just end it right there.
I think special teams is really unique. Like, we got to be aware of the altitude.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say you were going to a Wyoming and you get there the day of the game and it's a certain type of wind. How much time are we going to invest into each unit each week to be on the attack? It's not like the Missouri Valley where we were just ultra aggressive. And so I think Jackson's going to be a player we want to use on special teams, but I think we have to be very smart about the matchups. We got to be very smart about the wind, the elevation, because this ball is going to travel. And then if those are cases that pop up, maybe you don't stress that unit that week and you emphasize the other units.
Something else, yeah.
Yeah, so Jackson's a guy that's going to be right at the forefront and a point of attack on offense. So we got to be careful with that.
So defensively, I want to talk here I think your defensive line, what you bring back, looks awfully, awfully impressive. Certainly with Keenan Wilson in the middle. I think Logan Larson is ready to really break out. Elijah Wayne is another guy. We talked this time last year about what it could be. Is that ready to take a full step here in 2026?
We skip over Vanderpool.
And Zach Vanderpool is another guy, yes, absolutely.
And then, this Thomas Roberts kid nobody knows about is
Nebraska kid,
280. And he is up there with Keenan in the running and pushing the group. So we like our depth inside. Old Bald has improved.
Okay.
Whether he plays 10 reps a game or he plays 18 here or there, like Chase Evink. I mean, there's some depth there. The development and how we want to do it is starting to take place. That's a position that's very hard to hold on to guys. But Elijah Wayne seems to be in position. I don't know if we know exactly the magic weight yet for him. Is it 300 or is it 290? Is it 305 or is it 295? And so we're going to really monitor that hard in the spring. But I'm excited about Vanderpool, Larson, and Keenan as far as leadership goes, and they played the bulk. And then you have another 4 or 5 options.
Your familiarity with this league, how much can that help during the run-up here over the last few months and then when fall camp gets going in a couple weeks?
I think it's already paid dividends talking about some advanced scouting, especially with the night games. We have to have 3 or 4 coaches that on Friday and on Saturday they're using that time. We have to have 3 or 4 people that are designated, okay, maybe it's an hour of evaluating tape because on the back end, getting back at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning,
right.
Sundays and Mondays, we have to be very conscious of our time. I've already talked to Ryan about the TV show. And we just have to be really conscientious of, we're going to be in the office till 11, 12, not just 9 p.m. because of the travel back.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a benefit. After looking at it, going out is not as big an issue as coming back to Fargo.
Yeah. The familiarity with playing at Air Force, I know you don't go to Wyoming, but playing at Wyoming, San Jose State, Nevada, those schools, how much can that bear weight this year, even though it's been a bit since you've been there?
No, I think so. Now, the difference is New Mexico is riding this positive wave right now, much different atmosphere. They had 2 games of over 30,000 in attendance. I have a very good idea for how the cadets will respond to any opponent.
Especially a night game.
A night game at Air Force. But it's just been cool to see how excited our fans are to get out and travel.
I am interested, personally, how well do you know? I know you know some of these guys really well. Is there one you haven't known or got a chance to meet here over the last couple months, coach-wise?
It's interesting. The whole group I've known of or through my agent. And so it's been really good to gravitate towards people that are similar personalities.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know this, but when Coach Choate left Montana State, initially on the front end of that interviewing process, I was in the mix and kind of, Viggs won the job, but I kind of backed off. They kind of backed off, and I chose to stay at Iowa. But our connection through the Texas game when he was there, along with Paul Christ, so that's been cool. Coach Tang, just the player that he was and the attitude that he's trying to set with his club. Dan Mullen was polarizing when he was at the P4 level, and to have his leadership in the room. So there's some connection to everybody, and then there's deep-rooted relationships through old rivalries, like with Coach Ack, whether it's on the recruiting trail or his time at Wisconsin. And so I actually probably know this group more than I knew the Missouri Valley head coaches, because there was a lot of young guys my first year down there.
It's great to see you. I know you're a busy man. I know we're going to do this a ton this season. Appreciate it. And we'll talk when we get back to Fargo, okay?
It's exciting times. The Mountain West Conference has been unbelievable, and I think everybody in Fargo should know this. It's really an honor and a privilege to be part of this league and the leadership, and to be FBS is a different feel.
Big deal, man. There's no doubt about it. Tim Polasek joining us here to start our second hour. We're going to take a break. We come back. We're off and rolling here as the coaches are here. You'll hear from a bunch more when Hot Mike returns on WDAY Extra, KSFL in Sioux Falls, KMBN in Rapid City, and Inforum.com. We're back after this. Welcome back, everybody. Live here at the Palms Casino. Appreciate Tim Polasek joining us there. He's off now. As I'm looking at his schedule, he is locked in for the next 3.5 hours with different meetings, and that's part of the gig here of what's going on at Mountain West Media Days. So here, just to update things, as we're in the middle of Radio Row is where our location is at. Right to my right now is UTEP head football coach Scotty Walden, who is going to join us coming up in the last half hour of our show. He's out here along with Dan Mullen, the head coach of UNLV, and San Jose State's Ken Niumatalolo is out here as well. Those are the three now. Behind us, Jason Eck and Jeff Choate are about to meet with the local TV interviews here for the head coaches of New Mexico and Nevada, respectively, there. So a lot happened, and then they flip it in the afternoon session with the other five coaches that'll be out here, and we'll have a chance to visit with all of them. Some will be live, as you'll see here, coming up over the final 40 minutes of our show, and others we'll have to record, and we'll play them back here over the next little bit in anticipation of getting everybody revved up for the season. Let's unpack a couple things from what Polasek just said. Starting first, offensive line, and that's a topic, a hot one, after how last year ended, obviously, with the constant fluctuation, I guess, is the best way to describe of what the offensive line looked like, especially with Ryan Babbitt starting that final game, the Illinois State game, as a true freshman at left tackle, and then moving Bo Johnson over to the right side. And obviously, you know, Johnson is gone, Fraley is gone, that there's two open spots. Babbitt's, we know, is going to take the left side, and you already heard him speak glowingly about what they think Ryan can do there. Left guard is likely, that's going to, I would imagine, that's either Nate Tosted or Griffin Empey plays that position. Center is the one that we were talking about. If Empey plays, if they think Gage Schmidt is ready to go at center, then Gage is going to be the guy there, and Empey goes back to left guard, Tosted on the right side. And where does Josh Magan fit in all this? And I believe we think Kenny Anene is going to be the starting right tackle, the transfer from Kansas, who they added in January after his older brother Toby left for Colorado. Kane's a really interesting prospect who spent the last couple of years at Kansas, never played. The Bison were hot on him out of the recruiting trail, out of Woodbury in high school, and didn't get a chance to sign him. And he went to Kansas, and now he's at NDSU. You heard the name Noah Stummis, young man out of Eden Valley Watkins High School, who is tall. I mean, he might be 6'7", 6'8", who I believe is entering his junior season now. That's a name. Coy Okeson is a name you certainly know, out of Minot, North Dakota, who played at Bishop Ryan High School, former state champion wrestler, is a guy that certainly might be making his way up the depth chart. So that was interesting. And then the wide receiver part, and he was emphasized on that about the play at the wide receiver position. I thought was really interesting, taking off on the fact that they added Jeremiah Patterson out of Arizona. Jordan McCants was the other guy that he was referencing out of West Virginia, are the two big wide receiver. And then Tochi Okuru, who they added out of Garden City Community College, it's in Dodge City, Kansas, was the last one they added in May. So he believes that the position has gotten better talent-wise at wide receiver and health-wise. Makai Collins wasn't healthy during spring football. So if you think of Makai, Jackson Williams are going to be your top two guys there at wide receiver. Throw in those three guys I just mentioned. Maybe a younger guy like an S.J. Green, a Dylan Vogel. Are they now Vogel? I thought we were going to see at that final spring practice that we televised at the end of April, and then ended up breaking his foot. Hopefully his rehab goes fine. Has gone fine this summer, and he's ready to go when fall camp starts in a couple of weeks. Those are the guys I'd be keeping an eye on here moving forward on that. So something to note there going forward for the Bison in terms of their depth at certain positions at wide receiver and on offensive line. Defensive line looks about as rock solid as they can be at a few spots there, notably obviously in the middle. We talked about that. I think defensive end is a really intriguing spot as well for what they could potentially do at that position, knowing Matthew Stenbrotten is back after a really nice year. I think Victor Isley is bound for big things as well in 2026. So those are just a few names there on the defensive side to keep your eyes on. But I think, honestly, there are some certain positions, quarterback being one. Nathan Hayes is going to have to work out. And granted, we've got a track record here that goes back 16 years. The quarterbacks have all worked, which is unheard of. It's only the Green Bay Packers I can think of a stretch of that where the quarterbacks have worked out for that stretch of time, going from Brock Jensen to Carson Wentz to Easton Stick to Trey Lance to Cam Miller to Cole Payton and now to they think and hope and presume it's Nathan Hayes is going to be the guy, and he's going to get the 1 year. And that was something that we'll visit again with Polasek about later on in terms of the 5-for-5 eligibility, how that works. I was told that Hayes has applied for a medical hardship, but knowing now that those are no longer in play, don't know if that's going to be approved. I saw yesterday former UND defensive back Johnny Wiltshire is waiting for a chance to get an extra year. I believe he's filed a lawsuit against the NCAA now to get another year back. Those now, in this day and age, I don't see them getting approved or just getting thrown out. This time last year, or even 2 months ago, those kind of waivers get signed off like there's nothing to it. But in this day and age, that is hardly the case anymore. So going back to focus on the Hayes part of it, would they love another year? Absolutely. I don't think they're counting on it now because of the new eligibility model. Hayes redshirted in 2022, and then you get your 4 years after that, which 2026 would be his final season to be eligible as a student athlete. Now, for other players like Elijah Wayne, like a Jackson Williams, like a Donovan Mullen, a Preston Brown, who they really like at quarterback, those players now have an extra year because they didn't redshirt under the old model. So now they have a potential to play 5 years of college football. And for the incoming freshmen that are arriving or have arrived over the last month and a half in Fargo, they also have this new eligibility model where they have the opportunity to play 5 years. It's a crazy deal, but that's the new world of college ball that's going on right now. All right, let's reset things here. We're going to see here if we can break and maybe get Coach Mullen or Coach Walden to join us here over the final half hour as we roll on. We are live on location at the Palms in Vegas on day 2 of Mountain West Media Days. We're back on Hot Mic on WI Extra right after this.
This is Hot Mic with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mic rolls on here. Final half hour of our coverage, live at least, here in Las Vegas. Much more coming up throughout the day here on WDAY through our newscasts at 11, 6, and 10. And, of course, we'll have some more stuff interspersed throughout the day. The fun of live television, I believe Coach Mullins is interviewing with a couple other places right now. So if we're going to be able to get him here in this segment, we are UTEP head coach Scotty Walden will join us 10:40, 10:42, somewhere in that range. Will join us in there. Let's get a couple emails in from earlier. Don, there was a sneaky good nugget in your discussion with the commissioner. When you brought up expansion and what the Mountain West Conference is looking for, what was the first thing she said? When a school reaches out to us, we tell them, and that was the only time she referenced that. She referenced the league contacting a prospective school, and a second time later in the conversation. To me, that's further evidence that despite what NDSU or any other school says publicly, the impetus is on them to be reaching out, expressing their interest, and communicating their readiness to move up. How about this? This is good live television here. We got the head football coach at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, to join us, who was a former TV guy. He went to the dark side and went back to the other profession.
Everyone says that both ways. I was on the dark side, went to the light side, or I was on the light side, went to the dark side, and back. I've gone back and forth.
Dan Mullen, the head coach, UNLV, joins us. First off, great to meet you. Thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah, great to be here.
So for us in Fargo, obviously the tension on the potential maybe with UNLV and North Dakota State. What do you know about North Dakota football first?
Well, listen, I know this. There's a culture of winning and an expectation and a standard of winning at North Dakota State. There is a passionate fan base that loves football. I love football. Right, I love it. I love what it stands for. I love what it represents. I love the embrace in that and how people love it. And when you go watch North Dakota State play, when you watch their fan bases, when you watch the game, when you see College Game Day and stuff, when you see the passion and the energy, the excitement around the program, I love that it's important to the people of North Dakota, their football team.
When did you hear about this? What was your initial reaction about the Bison coming into the Mountain West?
I was like, let's make sure we get him here to Vegas. I don't want to, even though I will say this, okay? I am at.
Have you been to North Dakota?
I think there's only two states in the United States I have not stepped foot in.
Yeah.
And North Dakota's, and the Dakotas are my two. Right.
Well, we got to get that done. So maybe next year, then that's the case, huh?
I will check that box. Okay, and I might then night before the game have to get in a car,
just drive. Well,
drive south.
You could just drive it out,
and then
south.
Just get out of the car.
Absolutely.
Maybe walk into a gas station, get a soda, and drive back. And so I've been there. That's how I've checked a couple of my boxes.
Hey, it doesn't matter one way or the other.
Well, when I think I did it the one time, my wife and I were cruising around. We went to Yellowstone National Park. We drove up through Montana and then Idaho. Now I've been there since. And then back to Utah when I was in Utah. I got out of the car. I've been there. Check it. I made it.
One's like, hey, you make sure we're in this. So do a little we're doing live TV. We want to make sure we're
we're
so live. Obviously expectations are sky high. We saw the amount of media that was here for your players yesterday. Describe that. You have a new quarterback. You bring back an outstanding running back. How do you handle that here? Because that's almost unheard of for UNLV football to have this kind of expectation.
Yeah, it is. But when you break down and I look at football, the last years playing in the championship game each of the years. When you go to players, okay, they only know the last couple of years. In fact, you walk into a high school to go with somebody.
Yeah.
They started watching football, college football, and really paying attention 2 to 3 years ago. So they know UNLV wins. Hey, right? They don't know that 20 years ago we were terrible, or bad for a long time.
Right.
They look at UNLV and say, well, the last 3 years been in championship games, the younger generation. So I think the culture within the program with the players, the local feel, the excitement, you have your diehard fans that are like, hey, I suffered through the tough years, and we're really enjoying the good ones right now. I think that's the buy-in, that's the excitement. The Mountain West Conference is really exciting. I think like you said, I do think for us, being where we are, being a team that's played in the championship game the last 3 years, I expect an invasion of North Dakotans. Did I say that right?
You got it.
Okay. Here in because I'm sure they got the schedule. Hey, we're in the Mountain West.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be negative on some places, but they're like, I hope we go to Las Vegas.
Vegas and Honolulu were the top ones, and the Bison are going to both of them, which, get the destination out of it. Those are tough football teams. That's what I'm trying to tell people back in Fargo. Like, hey, it's great destination-wise. The games are going to be really, really difficult.
I think one thing there to see is the league top to bottom.
Yeah.
Is great. The margin for error in this league is very, very. You're not walking in and said, okay, hey, these two teams are separated above everybody else. You're going to have to, you better show up every single week and bring your A game in this league, because balance and the depth of good teams in the Mountain West.
I wanted to ask you about that for Bison fans that are watching the stand for the first time. How do you evaluate, what's the best way to describe what the league is in terms of talent, in terms of what the players look like in this conference?
Well, I think each team really embraces their identity, right, of who they are and what you are. Like, I mean, if when the Bison come in, they're going to be big, they're going to be physical, play great defense, run the ball up front. But you're going to have to go to Wyoming. You better be ready for that too. They're going to be a big physical team. New Mexico, you got to be ready. They're going to be a physical football team. Then all of a sudden you got Air Force, and you better figure out how to run the option, right? And then you're going to go play the speed of all the wideouts at Hawaii the next week. And so I think it's when you're getting, each team kind of embraces who they are, and you got to be ready for different styles of football week in and week out.
Your schedule right off the hop, Memphis at home is a tough one, and then you go to Hawaii right away. Tell me about the first two games right at the start of your year.
Obviously huge, and when you do it. And one of the things in scheduling for us, and I think everybody in the league, I think it's important. I look at our schedule, and I want to set it up of, hey, I know we got a tough conference. If we have the opportunity to win the Mountain West, I want to hopefully have us in a position that we get that college football playoff.
Yeah.
And for the conference, because the conference depth is going to give you great quality. But if we can get outside and go open up with a Memphis, who's probably the favorite in the American Conference, North Texas, who was one of the top teams in that league last year. We got Cal coming in as a Power 4 team, as well as our schedule. I think that going to Hawaii week 1, because we open week 0. We'll know a lot about our team early in this year. But the schedule, it's never, when you never gets easier.
I was talking with former Bison head coach Craig Bohl, obviously coached at Wyoming, about the whole trip. Have you gone before, and what have you gathered information about what that trip is like?
I haven't. I think you have to talk to some different people. If you can make a lot of it, or a little of it, and you want to embrace certain things of it. And, one of the things, honestly, I'd spill the beans. I'll give you we're going to get there in plenty of time. Where our hotel is, give our guys 2 to 3 hours, go see the beach. Go ahead and go down. You can go down to the Waikiki Beach and walk along the beach, and then come back and let's get ready for football. And, we're not going on vacation, and we're not going to make it miserable. We're going to go try to set a good schedule, let the guys see, like, okay, that's cool, let's get back to business, and get ready to go play a football game. And, I think that's kind of the focus. And, we played them in a big game last year late in the season, so I think there's some familiarity with the team. And, we have had very minimal coaching turnover. So have they. So you kind of, I think each team is going to have a little bit of an idea of what the other one's going to do.
Two last things. I appreciate you doing this. Jackson Arnold's a high-profile name. Describe of getting him in and what he can be for your quarterback for this season.
Well, I think, Jackson's done a great job. I think, in today's world, he comes in. He's a guy, when I got hired last year, we tried to recruit him, ended up going to Auburn, which they're tough. We don't quite have the same. Their scholarships are worth a lot more money than ours. Right?
Well, in a different ballpark.
Now it's legal. They used to say that like with a wink and a nod, right? Now it just is what it is. Now it's like, hey, it's a flat rate. But he came available again. We got together and met him. One of the great things about him is sat down and he's like, Coach, I'm an older guy. I really understand the development and your experience and your resume of developing quarterbacks. I want to be developed as a player. That's priority number one, is how can I want to go somewhere to be really coached and developed hard. And in today's world, that's what we try to look for, right? One of the things, and I think if you look at one of the things that I would jump up and down on the table to say that North Dakota State's done so well over the years, is identify guys that love football, because obviously, right? They were even coming up, dominating at the FCS level, beating a lot of FBS teams along the way. they were doing it with guys that maybe aren't the highest profile guys, but they found guys that love ball, that want to be coached, that want to be developed. And I think that's a big part to it. And that was a huge part with the Jackson Arnold for the guy that this is, I want to be coached, want to be developed. And we want a roster full of guys that love football.
Appreciate your time. Last thing I got to ask, from the on TV side of it, what did you learn about your time at ESPN to now coaching-wise with the game?
I think the one big thing, being away from football during that big transition, right? I mean, the portal had started. NIL was, I guess my last year at Florida, it was legal in Florida.
Yeah. That's right.
The administration did not to take advantage of it. But anyway, I got to see afar. And then having to try to change day to day and adjust to it. I got to talk to a lot of coaches, got to see some different things and say, hey, this is who we are. This is like, I understand. I'm going to come back. I'm not going to change how I run a program, but I'm going to tweak how I do it. I'm going to have different expectations, different standards for me personally in how the program's going to shape up. This is how I want to handle, and I think it's made it a lot easier being away from coaches that had to go from, this is how I've done it. Right. I got to change this way now. Oh, now I got to change to this. Now I got to change to this. I got to see it from afar and adjust and say, okay, I'm going to reset my thought on the game and how I want to approach running the program in the new world of college football.
This was great. Thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah.
I look forward to being back out here in the middle of October. I have a feeling it might be about 10,000 Bison fans.
Let's
Allegiant Stadium for your games.
They're going to have a lot of fun. It's an awesome stadium. Yeah. It's a great experience. It's a really cool deal for everybody, and we're excited to have them. I'm excited, to have them in the league because of not just the winning, but the passion, as you said. Yeah. I love the passion of fan bases. I love when football's important, people.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate
Thank
this.
you.
Dan Mullen joining us, UNLV head football coach here. We'll take our final break. We got one more coach coming. UTEP head coach Scotty Walden will join us. We come back here live to Las Vegas right after this. All right, wrapping things up here. Hard to believe we're at the end of the show already as our 2 days in Las Vegas are about to come to an end. We're anticipating having UTEP head football coach Scotty Walden join us here for the final, I'd say, 10 minutes or so of our program today. How awesome was that with Dan Mullen? That was just fantastic stuff, and really appreciate him coming on and sharing exactly what's going on with the league and with UNLV. A lot of excitement there, and I think it just stands to reason there's going to be, a quasi-rivalry with UNLV. And I've had people ask me since we've been here about, well, what do you think, who's going to be North Dakota State's rival? In proximity, you'd say Wyoming, simply because of location and the connections between the two schools, that obviously Craig Bull and obviously his son Aaron is the defensive coordinator there. Tim Polasek was offensive coordinator under Bull for 3 years there. So there's obviously there. I think also it's something organic that can happen when teams play. We saw it happen with Northern Iowa and North Dakota State in the early years of the Missouri Valley when the Bison were there. I think it could be with UNLV. It could be with New Mexico. You just don't know. That's the exciting part about this, is we just don't know what, where, and how these things are going to develop as play gets going. And that's the part that's really exciting about what's to come here with the league. And we're really excited about what to see, honestly, when things get going, when the Bison start their first game coming up on September the 12th with their first league game when they play at Air Force. We've got one last guest here to fit in before we are off the air here today. Really excited to have UTEP head football coach Scotty Walden join us, another former FCS guy. I feel like the last couple of days we've had a fun. I feel like we haven't left FCS, the amount of guys I've been talking to. He was the coach at Austin Peay before he got the job at UTEP. Thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah.
How many times do you get asked about you're the third youngest coach? You're all 36 and you're coaching major college football.
Yeah, I feel 36, but in the head coaching years, I think I'm 63, brother. I don't feel, starting to get gray hairs, and I'm starting to tell dad jokes. I mean, it's getting weird, man. It's getting weird.
Club on that.
Yeah.
What did you know about the Mountain West? Obviously, UTEP's a new full member of the league. What did you know about it, and was this in discussions when you got hired about, hey, there's a potential for a league move for UTEP?
Yeah, there was kind of some inklings in the air, if you will, about the potential of moving to the Mountain West. Our fan base was craving believing it. Our fan base, we call this home. I mean, when you talk to our fans and you talk to, the diehard, Minor Nation that is used to playing, Wyoming Air Force, Hawaii, San Jose State, you name it, right? That regional footprint is what they know, right? That regional footprint is where they want to be, and that's where we wanted to be. And I give credit to Jim Center and Dr. Wilson, our president. When the opportunity came about, I moved really fast, and we were able to execute that. And obviously, coaching at the G5 level, coaching at Southern Miss and Conference USA, and then being in Conference USA at UTEP, you're always up with the G5 leagues, and so obviously, and I'm a junkie, man. I grew up, I knew every conference. I watched Timmy Chang play. I was telling the Honolulu guys that was so cool to get to watch him throw. So I was real familiar with the Mountain West, but it's a great league, and we're honored to be in it.
So give me your experience at Austin Peay and FCS, and obviously in relation, you certainly knew about North Dakota State. You have a really unique connection to the Bison I want to get to in a second, but what you in the Ohio Valley Conference and knowing full well of what FCS football was at Austin Peay.
Man, let me tell you, I learned so much coaching at the FCS level and have a ton of respect for the talent, the coaching. I mean, it is great football. And guys that are like coaches, like we know this, man. There's great players at Division II, at Division III, at the FCS, great coaches at that level. Some of the best ones come from that level. And actually one of the first guys when I took the job, the first guy that I called was Matt Ince. And Coach Ince was, I was so thankful that he took time to talk to me about building a program at the FCS level. At the time, I was 31 years old, didn't know what the heck I was doing. And I was so excited to be at Austin Peay and lead that program. And Matt, I was so grateful that he got on the phone and talked about building a program. And I was so impressed with the level of detail that he had and everything that he was doing in North Dakota State. And so we have the utmost respect for the Bison and the fan base, the style of play. And it's evident. I mean, you look at, I just came from a league in Conference USA where Missouri State, Kennesaw State, these teams, Delaware, right? These teams came from FCS. And they all went to bowl games. So there's going to be no taking anybody lightly, just because they come from the FCS. It's great football, and especially North Dakota State is elite football.
So you're at Austin Peay. You end up. Did you call Matt to say, hey, we want to come up and play in Fargo? How did that conversation go?
So I think I told you this off air. When I took the job at Austin Peay, I told our AD Gerald Harrison, who's at Marshall now, is a phenomenal guy. I said, look, if I'm taking this job, we want to compete at a national level. We're not coming here to just, hey, let's just mess around in this league. We want to be a national contender. So if we want to be the best, we got to play and beat the best. And so the first team that I scheduled when I got there in 2026 was North Dakota State. And, I was like, hey, that'll be a great litmus test of where we're at as a program by that time. It's funny. We were talking about it, then you guys make the jump. Austin Peay gets wiped off the schedule. Now we're in the same league. So got what I asked for.
And you're still coming to Fargo.
And we're coming to Fargo, baby.
Did you
dream come true?
Did you grit your teeth when you saw that? I'm going to Fargo one way or the other?
Hey, fired up, man. Are you kidding me? I mean, have the utmost respect for Coach Polasek and for the entire, just the whole culture and community that you see and the fan base, man. So excited, to get to go up there and bring West Texas football up to Fargo and get to play in the Fargo Dome.
So
it's historic.
We had EJ come by yesterday, another FCS guy from Incarnate Word. What did you see out of him to say this is the guy to hand the keys to for your offense for this year?
Yeah, really two things for me that we were looking for in a starting quarterback was a guy that has a track record of taking care of the football, and number two, an alpha male. And there's this guy, there was a couple seasons in his high school where he threw one interception. He threw 4 picks at Incarnate Word. He had over 70% completion rate. He makes really good decisions. As talented as he is, he can run, he can throw. I love the talent. The best thing about him is he's an elite decision maker, and he did a fantastic job in spring and really separated himself, and that's why we felt real confident in going ahead and naming him the starter. And then the second thing is, you want to see your quarterback be the hardest worker in the room. And he's this summer, early in June, he's got 550 on his back squatting. He doesn't shy away from work. And when you do that as a quarterback, the entire team looks at that and respects you, and they want to raise their level of play. That's just something that we hadn't had in the past 2 years, and I'm so excited for that. I mean, heck, in this hotel yesterday, there's one guy that beat me to the gym yesterday morning, and it was E.J. Colson. And I'm like, let's go. I mean, and I was fired up. I was mad he beat me, but I'm like, hey, I'm just an old man trying to get a workout in.
Old man, you're 36. Come on now.
I told going on 63 though.
Last thing before we go, to coach in the Sun Bowl, what is that like? To coach in a historic stadium. What was you being college football football
Yes, sir.
junkie. What was that? What is that like to do that on a weekly basis?
Brother, it is iconic.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, so when we took the job, we built a brand new locker room. We had a $5 million locker room project, which was so blessed, our donor support to get that done. And one of the lead architects of that, his father had been the lead architect of the Sun Bowl.
Oh, wow.
And so like late 50s, early 60s. And so he's like, Coach, you know that the Sun Bowl can never be replicated. And I was like, why is that? And he's like, the amount of dynamite it took to blow a hole in this mountain,
in the side of a mountain,
it's
right?
illegal, And so he blew a hole in this
wild.
mountain and then set the Sun Bowl in it. I mean, I can't wait for you guys to come out there. It is an iconic stadium. There's 8+ seasons in our school's history where we've averaged over 40,000 fans a game. We are the main show in town. That's the coolest thing about our place. We have 6 TV stations, and they all cover the minors. No, we're the pro team, and that's the best thing about our place. And so the support is unbelievable. The passion's unbelievable. When that place is rocking and it echoes off those mountains, it's a place unlike any other.
What have you heard about Fargo?
I've heard about the same. I've heard it's loud and intense, man. And so we are really excited to get up there, man. It's a passionate fan base.
And we're looking forward. We're going to be televising that game on WDAY when UTEP comes up there, so we're really excited about that. Thanks so much for doing this, bud.
Absolutely.
Have a great season.
Yeah.
Good luck, and
Appreciate
we'll
you.
see you in October,
Welcome to
okay?
the league. Thank you, guys.
There
Picks
he is.
up.
Scotty Walden joining us, head coach at the University of Texas, El Paso. Miners will be playing the Bison. It'll be coming up on October 31st. That's a game that WDAY has the rights to, that game and the Florida game. We're super pumped we get a chance to put a Mountain West Conference game on WDAY, and I think Coach Walden will be fun to interview that week leading up for the Bison game with UTEP, and that'll be outstanding. And for those that haven't seen, I know for a lot of people who watch our show, they know what the Sun Bowl is, but if you haven't, we did our tour of the Mountain West right after the Bison got in the league, and the video out of that for a little stadium inside, got the side of a mountain is just outstanding. And to hear him talk about the fact that they can't do it anymore, the amount of dynamite they had to use to blow aside that's just fantastic. That's going to wrap up things here live in Las Vegas. We have much more coverage coming throughout the day, so check inforum.com and, of course, on WDAY later today for our newscast coming up right up here at 11, at 6 o'clock, and at 10 o'clock. We're going to have all the coaches on. We'll have that interspersed on Hot Mic and, of course, on WDAY over the next week and weeks leading up to we got coming. A real quick shout-out to our technical crew, led by Eric Manell back in Fargo, Alex Mulvey and Kyle Strecker for getting everything set up here. Our esteemed leader, Stacey Anderson, of course, for running things. Sam Getzinger has been running around like a crazy man getting interviews. Wouldn't be happen without with them. You just see me up here, but all of them made our broadcast happen over the last couple of days. We'll be back in Fargo tomorrow to wrap everything up. Looking forward to what's going to be a busy show then. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Back here in Vegas coming up later, and we'll see you in Fargo tomorrow.